Hello everybody and welcome to the first in a series of tutorials detailing JavaFX. In this tutorial we're going to download the software required to create applications in JavaFX, and then we're going to create a simple hello world using Scene Builder. So your first question may be, what is JavaFX? And through the power of the internet here, we're going to Google it. I'm not going to read this to you, but essentially JavaFX is a set of tools that uses Java programming to create applications that will run on the phone, run on the internet, and these are going to be kind of nice graphical applications, usually involving graphical user interface. JavaFX is intended to replace Swing as the standard GUI library, so that's one good reason to use it. I mean, anybody that's used Swing knows that it's very antiquated and not a very, I'm not going to say it's not a good library, but it's not the most user-friendly library in the world. So JavaFX is trying to make a better library, essentially easier to use, easier to understand. Another really good reason to use JavaFX, it has hard enforcement of a model view controller design pattern. For those of you unfamiliar, model view controller says that we should lay out our code just so the user is interacting with the controller, which then manipulates a model. The model, for example, would be our objects in Java, kind of like our person object or manager object, whatever your system is, whatever objects are appropriate. They interact with each other, and then it updates a view, which is what the user actually sees. You might be wondering, why do we care that it enforces model view controller in a very hard way? Usually the kind of separation of code and the compartmentalization that model view controller provides just kind of gives us a good organizational structure for our code. Just the more organized the code is, the better. And being able to manipulate, for example, the view, like the style, separate from our actual code, gives us a lot of power. When everything's all intertangled together, it can get really messy and bad. So, prefacing with all that now out of the way, let's go ahead and download the stuff that we need in order to run JavaFX. So the first thing you're going to need is Java JDK 8U20, or maybe by the time this video is out, it'll be a newer one, but they're going to include JavaFX in all the newest JDKs. So you'll need to install the newest Java JDK, and then I'm going to install NetBeans as well as an IDE to develop in Java, essentially. So I've downloaded NetBeans 8.0.1. I think I got to this link via, Oracle NetBeans Java bundle, right? So I clicked on that, and here we are. Downloaded it for my machine. Then I'm going to need you also to download Scene Builder. Scene Builder is like a tool for use with JavaFX that will allow us to create a user interface by dragging elements about. It's a really great tool, so you definitely need to download that. Now keep in mind, when you do download it, keep in mind the directory that it is downloaded in, because we're going to need that later for NetBeans. So I've already taken the steps of downloading these things, so once you have done that, you're going to want to open up NetBeans. They already have open, and you're going to go to File, New Project. It'll probably default to Java, so you'll click on JavaFX. And then here we have a lot of different kinds of JavaFX applications. We're going to use a JavaFX FXML application, okay? Let's name it our first project. In the future, I suggest that everyone has a better naming scheme, but this is just for the sake of the tutorial, essentially. Okay, so we've created our FXML JavaFX project, and you'll notice off the bat there's a library, or rather our package that we first created, and then inside of here is an FXML document, a FXML controller, and then this our first project.java. So let's look at this. There's a lot of things that are kind of generated automatically here, and I don't want you to get too caught up on what all of it means, but I do want you guys to know that the start method here is sort of like the main in a conventional Java method. The compiler is going to look for start, and that is going to be the starting point for JavaFX applications. But now, looking away from that, we need to consider what we're going to accomplish here. We're going to try to create a user interface, maybe a little panel with a button we'll click on that button and it will print hello world to the console. So let's do that. So we downloaded this scene builder tool, and we're going to use that to manipulate our UI and build our UI. So the way to do this is to right click on the .fxml and click on open. Now it might be that you don't have that available, and the reason is probably, given that you've downloaded Scene Builder properly, you'll need to go to Tools, Options. It'll probably default you to General here. Then you need to go to Java and make sure that you click on JavaFX. And then you'll need to set the Scene Builder home to wherever you installed Scene Builder. Well, once you've done that, you should be good to go. And now you should be able to double click this, or you can right click and open to edit it in Scene Builder. So we're going to do that. And here we go. We have this very beautiful application that allows us to manipulate our user interface. So that's, already, I don't know how much experience the watchers have with Swing, for example, but tools like this are really a great thing. I don't like dealing with grid bag layout or flow layout or whatever layout manager is popular. I'd much rather just drag things about. So when we created our application here, or created our project, they went ahead and generated some stuff for us. The anchor pane is the root node of our UI here. And then they created a button for us, and they created a label. So just to go through the motions of creating our own UI, we're going to go ahead and delete these. I'll do that by right-clicking and delete. Okay, and then there's a lot of options here. I'm going to go to Controls, and then I'm going to get a button, and I'm just going to drag it right onto here. Yeah, there we go. There's a button, and then you'll notice here on the right there are several options here. I'm not going to go into detail about what each of these things do. There's a huge amount of options here. I haven't even used all of them before. I'm not really sure what some of them do, for example. So for our purposes, we're just going to manipulate the text. Like, let's just call it hello, and then let's let's change the color to something different, just to show that we can do that. There we go. Red text hello. Here under the layout kind of tab, there's various ways we can manipulate the layout. For our purposes now, it'll be fine to just drag it around. And then here we have the code, and here's we're going to get more to this later, but here's where we're going to sort of link it with our controller. We're going to link our UI, the view, if you will, with the model through the controller. Okay, so here's the view already apparent. Here's the controller. The controller will be sort of the logic, the code that does things that changes our model. So the view, you might be thinking, okay, so we have the view and controller. What is the model? Well, the model is sort of the application-specific domain objects. What does that mean? Well, in Java, typically we create objects that interact with each other to get our work done, whatever our code is doing. So our model will be our objects and how they interact with one another. So that is essentially the model, and those things will be manipulated in this controller, which will then change the view. So we're going to go through these steps right now. If that was confusing to you, we'll just go ahead and actually do some of that manipulation. Okay, so we've created a button, and we want to click on it, and we want it to print hello to the console. So we're going to delete some of the default things here. We're going to delete this, which was given to us by default. Okay, we're going to leave this initialized blank. This is going to appear every time that the FXML document controller is created. There's going to be this initialize, so if you ever need to set up variables, that will be available. But what we're going to do is we're going to create our own method, public void, let's say print hello, and then this is going to take in an action event. Okay. In fact, let's keep this private. I mean, we don't want any other classes accessing it. Okay, it's going to take in an action event. You might be wondering, what is an action event? Well, an action event is going to be something that allows us, through Scene Builder and otherwise, to associate methods with actions. In this case, the action for this button would be clicking on this button. So we're going to set up our code such that when we click this button, it will print hello. So here, let me just show you. It's easier shown here. System.out.println hello world. There we go. Okay, so let's just save that. Let's Control S here, save that. Okay, so here, just for example's sake here, let's run it. Okay, hello. Now it doesn't do anything. And you might be wondering, why doesn't it do anything? Well, we didn't really rig our view to our model. We didn't actually, connect this in any way to our code. So how are we going to plug in the code? Well, there's this handy feature in the scene builder where we have an ID. So we're going to just create an arbitrary ID. It doesn't really matter. We're going to call it hello button. We'll hit enter. And now we're going to get this error here, no injectable field found in FXML controller class. So this is the FXML controller class. And what it's essentially saying is you aren't using that. Well, we're about to use that. So here, let us go like this, add FXML. And make sure to include these tags before declaring variables that have to do with the FXML. Okay, so we're going to button, or private, sorry, let's make sure, private button, and then we will call it, hold on, hello button, right. Okay, and more importantly, here I just showed you how to have a variable connected, but we're going to, oh yes, and make sure, here's the great thing about NetBeans, there's an error here, the error being cannot find symbol. It doesn't know what is button. Well, we'll right click and we'll do fix imports, and then make sure that you see something that says JavaFX as the package at the very top here. Hit that, and then the problem goes away. But also we want to associate this method with the button press. So how do we do that? We'll go to on action again, and then let's see, are we getting a drop down? Okay, then we'll just type in the name of our method, which will be print hello. Print hello, Control S there, make sure that is all saved and good. Okay, let's run it and see what happens. Oh, we get an error. So you might be wondering, oh, what's going on here? This all looks right. Make sure before you write a method that interacts with the FXML, make sure that you, again, add this tag at the very front here. This is a very important thing, and I can't enumerate how many times I've been tripped up by this. Right, so go ahead and save. Let's run this. All right, hello, and there we go. So we have our system out printing, right? So now, printing to the console, that would require that someone's running our program from the console. Not a lot of people are doing that anymore. We should probably manipulate our actual UI. So what I'm going to do here is create a label. Okay. Oh, I somehow managed to close it. Okay, here we go. Grab the label. Just drop it here. And then we're going to give that an ID, our label. Again, in the future, I suggest you guys to have better naming convention than that. Okay, then we're going to, again, create a variable for this. Now keep in mind, we didn't actually end up using the hello button variable. I was just trying to show here how you instantiate a variable that has to do with your user interface. So, I mean, this is extraneous for this program, but it's just how you instantiate it. Okay, private label, our label, because that's what we named it. Again, we'll need to right-click, fix imports, make sure that we got the right thing, JavaFX scene control label. Yes, that is what we want. And now instead of, or we'll just leave the system.out.print, we'll go to our label dot, And then here we have a huge amount of methods that we can call, but the one that we're looking for is set text, and then we'll create a text message here. Okay, I'm going to save this just to make totally sure. Control S on that. Okay, we'll run it, and now we'll hit hello, and we have hello world. So just a basic application, and it's extremely simple for you guys, but just to show how we create our user interface using Scene Builder, how we connect that to our controller and to our code, and then just how to instantiate things, how to instantiate our methods, for example. Just the very beginning here. And the next tutorial will go through a lot more complex things as we begin to design a more complex application. One last note before I leave you guys is keep in mind when we are editing things in Scene Builder, it's manipulating this FXML document. And we can right-click and go to Edit, and we can see what is changing. And I do encourage you guys to every now and then maybe look at the text version of this just to kind of understand what's going on. For example, the anchor pane, the root node, we have the controller assigned, sort of the Java file that is the controller is assigned here. So that's how this is the controller. So if we wanted to write our own controller, we would just create our own package, create our own different file name that's controller, and then we would just change this. And then likewise, when we create elements, they're going to show up here, but you could just as easily create elements here that will then show up on your UI. Like instead of creating a button using Scene Builder, you can just essentially copy this and just create your own buttons, labels, whatever elements, just from the text. I do suggest using Scene Builder. I think it's a really great tool, but I just want you guys to keep in mind that what it's doing is automating the changes that you would have to make yourself to this text file. So that's part of the reason why it's very useful. Well, with that in mind, I hope you guys enjoy your application and are ready for the next tutorial.